Okay, let's unpack this.
Mm.
Because public schools in India are in, well, what's been described as a real pickle.
Hmm. A pickle is putting it mildly sometimes.
Right. You're seeing parents, across the country making this pretty significant shift, choosing private education over the government system.
Yeah, it's not just a trickle anymore, is it?
No, the numbers are frankly, well, they're not looking good. Enrollment in government schools, it's been sliding. A steady trend over years.
It really shows parents are voting with their feet or maybe their wallets. And
Exactly.
you've hit on the core issue right away there.
Yeah.
This is fundamentally a crisis of trust.
Trust, that's the word.
Parents are making this, calculated move.
Right, even though it costs them sometimes a lot.
Exactly. Often at considerable personal cost, pulling kids out of a system that's technically free, universally accessible.
So the big question is why? Why are they doing that?
Well, the reasons are deep-rooted. It draws from their everyday experiences, Crumbling infrastructure is a big one. Teacher absenteeism, which has become almost chronic in some areas.
Right.
And just this pervasive feeling that the system hasn't just stalled, but it's actually feeling outdated.
But here's where it gets really interesting and, frankly, a bit perplexing.
Okay.
The history of government schools tells a completely different story.
Right. The legacy.
This system has historically produced incredible talent.
Mhm.
I mean, we're talking scientists, technocrats.
Nobel laureates, even.
Exactly. People who walked those same halls, sat at those, sometimes wobbly desks.
Mm.
So if the foundation is there, if the potential is proven by generations of brilliant alumni, why isn't that legacy enough today?
It feels like a puzzle, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
And that's exactly our mission for this deep dive, using the material you shared. We want to go beyond just listing the problems.
Yeah, dig deeper.
We need to explore those deep-rooted issues driving the shift to private schools, really get into the specifics of infrastructure, the teacher challenges,
Well,
examine how perception plays such a huge role. Perception, yeah.
and importantly, look at the potential pathways to, well, revitalizing the system that are actually mentioned.
So the goal isn't just understanding the problem.
No, it's understanding what it would take to stop this slide, to make public education the star it historically was and arguably needs to be again.
Exactly. So let's start with what's happening on the ground, this great escape, you could call it,
Okay.
and how it ties directly into this core issue of the trust deficit.
You're right.
The evidence of declining enrollment, it's clear in data like UDICE, the Unified District Information System for Education.
Yeah, that data paints a pretty stark picture, a steady decline over time.
And what's striking is that it's not just confined to a few areas, right?
No, not at all. You see this trend playing out even in states known for having historically strong public school systems.
Like Kerala, Tamil Nadu.
Precisely. Places you wouldn't necessarily expect it to be as pronounced. The movement away is widespread.
It signals something fundamental has shifted, Absolutely. And when you look at the drivers behind it, they're incredibly significant for parents making that tough choice.
Like what specifically?
Imagine the physical state of some classrooms. We're talking leaky roofs dripping during monsoon season.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe no proper desks for the kids to sit at, a
No.
blackboard that's, well, seen better days. Ancient, neglected,
Not exactly inspiring confidence.
not at all. And then there's the challenge with teachers. For some parents, their experience might be a teacher who, if you're lucky, shows up maybe 3 days a week.
Wow.
Now, that's not universal, of course, but where it happens, it deeply impacts the reliability, the consistency of the education their child gets.
That inability to rely on consistent presence? That hits hard for a parent, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And then you layer statistics on top of that, like the one from Telangana in 2023-24.
What was that one?
Nearly 1 in 4 government schools, or 23%, were one-teacher operations.
Just one teacher. For potentially multiple grades.
Yep, multiple grades, multiple subjects. How is that even feasible?
That sounds impossible.
It's like asking a chef to cook a 5-course meal for a packed restaurant with one hand tied behind their back.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
It's setting them up for an impossible task. And parents see that struggle. They see it reflected in the quality of education.
They see a system that isn't properly staffed or supported.
Exactly.
Okay, and then there's the whole perception problem. This is huge, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. Private schools have really mastered the art of branding themselves.
They really have. Slick websites, professional looking.
Air-conditioned buses, maybe, uniforms that look modern, appealing.
They project this image of success, aspiration, a path to a better future.
While government schools, they often get stuck with this reputation of being the poor kids option.
Yeah. It's almost like comparing what a shiny new smartphone with all the latest features or
Uh-huh.
like a flip phone from 2005.
Exactly. Sure, the flip phone still makes calls. It technically works, gets the basic job done, but it's a tough sell convincing a parent to choose it when they perceive the smartphone, the private school, as the clear path to the future, packed with opportunity, modern relevance.
And why should this decline matter to you, listening right now?
Mm.
It's not just some statistic about faraway schools. This is about equitable access to education, the foundation of a just, functioning society.
That's the core of it.
When the public system, the one designed to be accessible to everyone, regardless of background or income, when that struggles,
It inevitably widens the gap.
right, between the haves and have-nots, it impacts opportunities for the next generation, and ultimately the kind of future everyone in the country shares.
Couldn't agree more. Let's dive deeper into that physical state you mentioned earlier, the infrastructure blues. It's a major factor.
Okay.
If you visited some rural government schools, you might recognize the picture. Crumbling walls that look, frankly, unsafe,
Yeah. Precarious.
missing or non-functional toilets. And yes, we've even seen accounts of the occasional cow wandering through the courtyard.
Seriously. A
Oh.
cow.
It sounds absurd, but it's a reality in too many places. Clean drinking water can be a luxury. Functional, usable toilets are often a pipe dream, not a given.
And when you look for digital resources, things schools are supposed to have now.
You're sometimes more likely to find just a chalkboard, maybe even without chalk, readily available.
Wow. It highlights such a fundamental lack of investment in basic tools.
And the government has certainly launched initiatives, right? Schemes with these comprehensive names like Samagra Shiksha PMPO Shant.
Isn't good on paper.
They do. Robust, well-funded. But the reality on the ground often doesn't match the plan or the promised investment.
It gets lost somewhere.
It's been described as like giving someone a detailed recipe for a delicious biryani, but forgetting to stock the kitchen with any spices.
Ah, okay.
The resources might be allocated on paper, but the translation to tangible, on-the-ground change, fixing roofs, building toilets, getting chalk.
It's painfully slow.
Yeah.
Or it just doesn't happen.
Often, yeah. Due to bureaucratic hurdles, what's been called bureaucratic quicksand.
And when you contrast that with many private schools,
Oh, the difference is stark.
gleaming computer labs, smart boards in classrooms, maybe AC.
Playgrounds that look like they belong in a sports complex.
Parents walk into a private school, they see something that looks like the future for their kid.
Right. And they walk into some government schools and see buildings that look like they're auditioning for a post-apocalyptic movie.
What message does that send?
It sends a powerful negative message, doesn't it? And this isn't just aesthetics. It's not just about looking pretty.
No, it's about seriousness,
Yeah.
value.
Exactly. Providing the absolute bare minimum for a conducive, safe, dignified learning environment.
Safe classrooms, clean water, working toilets. These aren't luxuries.
They're foundational requirements. The fact that we're still debating if every school in India should have a roof that doesn't leak and functional toilets here in 2025.
It's telling, isn't it?
It really is. What does that lack of basic infrastructure communicate to parents about the value placed on their child's education? It actively erodes trust.
It truly does. Okay, so then we have to tackle what's maybe one of the biggest perceived problems, the teacher tangle.
Ah, yes.
Where are the teachers? And when they are there, are they supported?
Teacher absenteeism is a chronic issue in many government schools. Now, it's not everywhere, but where it exists.
It severely impacts learning.
Severely. A 2023 study by the Azim Premji Foundation found absenteeism in rural government schools ranging from 15%
Okay.
to a staggering 40% across different states they surveyed.
40%. Wow. Imagine showing up to your job only 3 days a week.
And expecting to keep it, let alone be effective. Yet, in some parts of the public system, this level of absenteeism seems, well, normalized due to a complex mix of factors.
And layered on top of that is the issue of single-teacher schools. We mentioned that earlier.
Yes, a major problem.
Yeah.
That Telangana figure again, nearly 1 in 4 schools run by just one person.
Responsible for multiple grades, different subjects, varying age groups, all at once.
Plus, likely admin duties, community relations.
It's that juggling analogy again.
Right. The one about juggling flaming torches while riding a unicycle and reciting Shakespeare.
An impossible feat.
It sets these dedicated individuals up to fail, or at least struggle immensely and understandably burn out.
And when teachers are stretched that thin, or frequently absent, Parents naturally look elsewhere.
They look to private schools, where teachers are often perceived as better trained, better paid, and crucially, more reliably present.
And that point about training is key.
Absolutely.
Many government school teachers feel they haven't seen relevant professional development, maybe since the Y2K scare.
Huh. It can feel that way. They're not getting regular updates on teaching methods, pedagogy, how to integrate new tools effectively.
The system hasn't invested in keeping them current.
Meanwhile, private schools often invest heavily in regular, sometimes mandated training, ensuring their staff are ostensibly up to speed.
It's not that government teachers lack talent or dedication.
Not at all. Many are incredibly committed, capable professionals working under immense constraints.
But without proper ongoing training, without adequate support, often without basic respect.
They're fighting an uphill battle. And let's not forget the sheer numbers problem, that 2015 UNESCO report.
Right, the massive teacher shortage. Second only to Nigeria globally.
This isn't just an efficiency issue. It's a fundamental crisis needing urgent, large-scale attention.
And how does all this, the teacher presence, support, training, or lack thereof, how does it directly impact a child's learning experience?
Well, if your teacher isn't consistently there or is overwhelmed trying to manage multiple grades single-handedly.
You're just not getting what you need.
Exactly. Not the consistent instruction, the individual attention, the foundational support to thrive.
So supporting teachers, giving them resources, training, manageable loads, it's crucial.
It's absolutely central to the quality of education, not secondary.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Something less tangible, but maybe just as impactful.
Right.
How government schools present themselves. Let's call it the branding blunder.
Ooh, okay. Branding blunder. I like it.
Here's something I found really striking. Government schools produce some of India's absolute biggest success stories.
Right. We talked about C.V. Raman, N.R. Narayana Murthy, social reformers.
Titans, products of the public system. But would you know it walking past a government school gate?
Probably not. They're not exactly shouting about their famous alumni from the rooftops, are they?
No. They don't publicize it. It's like they have these incredible diamonds but keep them hidden away.
While private school?
Expert marketers. They plaster student success stories everywhere. Billboards, social media, shiny brochures.
Our student topped the IIT JEE, proudly proclaimed, showing a clear path to elite success.
While government schools might, mumble something about character building?
And hope nobody notices the peeling paint or the broken gate. It's a branding disaster.
Seriously,
Okay.
public schools are acting like the shy kid at the dance. Incredible talent, won't get on the floor.
They need a serious glow-up, how they promote themselves. Highlight the alumni, run campaigns, convey confidence, success, relevance.
Parents need to see them as a legitimate, high-quality, aspirational choice.
Not just a fallback when everything else fails.
And part of that perception is tied to curriculum, right? What's taught, how it's taught.
Definitely. Private schools often offer English medium instruction, a wider array of extracurriculars, coding, debate.
Career counseling.
Right. This package makes parents feel their child is on a fast track, prepared for a competitive global world.
Government schools, conversely, can feel stuck. Outdated textbooks, maybe. A one-size-fits-all approach.
Feels like it was designed when typewriters were cutting edge, maybe not preparing kids for AI or the gig economy.
And the language debate is a huge part of that private school draw.
Huge. English medium instruction is seen by many parents as the golden ticket.
For future opportunities, higher education, jobs.
And while it's undeniably true that global markets value English, it creates a significant challenge for government schools.
Which are traditionally rooted in mother tongue instruction, often mandated to teach in regional languages.
Which, let's be absolutely clear, is incredibly important, especially for early learning.
Right. Studies show kids grasp concepts better, think more critically, build stronger foundations in their native language.
But parents aren't necessarily reading pedagogy studies. They're reading job postings, seeing the demand for fluent English.
They're making pragmatic choices for their child's perceived future.
And the material suggests the solution isn't abandoning mother tongue, it's getting creative, flexible.
Like bilingual models.
Exactly. Some states, like Karnataka, have experimented with effective bilingual models, offering optional English medium sections alongside mother tongue classes.
It's like serving both idly and pizza at the same table.
That's the analogy used. You cater to different preferences and needs without sacrificing something inherently valuable.
Like mother tongue instruction, crucial for conceptual understanding.
Expanding and improving these kinds of programs could make government schools significantly more appealing without abandoning their roots.
Okay. And speaking of being caught off guard, the COVID-19 pandemic, that threw a real curveball, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It highlighted some fundamental differences in preparedness.
When schools shut down, almost overnight, private institutions generally pivoted pretty quickly.
To online learning, digital resources, they had the infrastructure, the tech.
Even if everyone was dealing with Zoom fatigue.
Right. Government schools struggled significantly in comparison.
The ACER survey data was stark, wasn't it?
The 2022 Annual Status of Education Report, absolutely stark. Only 8% of rural students had regular access to online learning during the pandemic.
Only 8%.
And a shocking 1 in 3 didn't study at all during that period.
1 in 3. That's not just a gap, that's a canyon.
In terms of access, equity, continuity, millions of kids just fell behind.
There was actually a brief moment, though, during the pandemic. Government school enrollment saw a temporary spike.
That's right. Largely driven by economic pressures, families lost livelihoods, couldn't afford private fees anymore.
It felt like maybe a potential turning point, a chance for the public system to reclaim students.
It was a golden opportunity, absolutely.
Whoops.
But sadly, it seems it was largely fumbled.
How so?
Instead of capitalizing on that return by offering a compelling, stable alternative, many government schools just weren't equipped for the pivot to remote learning.
Poor online infrastructure, lack of teacher training for digital delivery.
Spotty internet, especially in rural areas, it left parents frustrated, kids disconnected.
Meanwhile, private schools were managing virtual classrooms, emailing lesson plans.
Hosting virtual science fairs even, so it's maybe not surprising.
As soon as families could afford it.
Many went running back to private schools, seeking what they perceived as better platforms, stability.
Even if it was expensive stability.
Exactly.
So, facing all this trust deficit, infrastructure crisis, teacher tangle, branding problem, pandemic fumble, how do you even begin to turn this around?
It's a huge task, but the material offers several concrete pathways, focused on rebuilding that lost trust, step by step.
Okay, what's step one?
First off, fix the basics. Treat it like a national emergency. Serious, sustained investment in infrastructure. Safe classrooms not falling apart. Clean, functional toilets. Reliable electricity. Clean drinking water.
These aren't aspirational goals, they're requirements.
Non-negotiable, and crucially, the funds from schemes like Samagra Shiksha, PMP Ocean, they need to actually reach the ground.
Without getting lost in that bureaucratic quicksand.
Precisely.
Okay, basics first. Then what?
Then what we could call teacher TLC, tender loving care.
Okay.
Giving teachers the support, the respect they deserve, and the resources they need.
That means paying them better.
Paying them better, yes. Providing regular, relevant, ongoing training. And importantly, hiring significantly more staff. Eliminate those single teacher schools.
Tackle the shortage head on.
Acknowledge it, treat it with urgency. And small things matter too. A little appreciation.
Like that teacher of the month idea.
Yeah, with actual perks, not just a piece of paper.
Right.
Boost morale.
Makes sense. And the branding.
A serious branding makeover is essential. Public schools need a PR campaign. Rivals a Bollywood movie launch.
Seriously.
Highlight the success stories. Showcase the incredible alumni. Use social media creatively.
Like government schools, where legends are made.
Something like that, something compelling. Show parents you're more than a budget option. You're a place of opportunity, excellence.
Okay, what else? Curriculum.
A comprehensive curriculum overhaul. Modernize it. Include soft skills, digital literacy, career counseling, skills for the 21st century.
Things private schools often do well.
Exactly. And revisit that bilingual approach. Offer robust English medium options without sacrificing essential mother tongue instruction. Appeal to aspirations, maintain strong learning.
And technology.
We need to tech it up, and quickly. The pandemic showed the unpreparedness.
So, serious investment.
In affordable tech tablets, reliable internet software, and crucial training for teachers so they can use it effectively.
Shouldn't be caught with our pants down next time.
Or even for everyday integration now.
Okay, last point.
Finally, building genuine community buy-in. Vital.
Getting parents involved.
Making them feel like stakeholders, not just distant spectators. Involve them meaningfully. Activities, decision-making, maybe even helping maintain things.
So they feel invested.
Exactly. When parents feel invested, connected, they're far less likely to just pull their child out when a challenge rises.
So how do all these steps work together?
They collectively address the root issues that erode trust. They show parents in tangible, visible ways.
That public schools are capable, committed, relevant.
And deeply invested in their child's future. That's how you rebuild trust.
You know, this deep dive, it really underscores that this isn't just about buildings or attendance figures.
No, it's much bigger.
It's about the fundamental idea of equitable education. India's constitution sees education as this powerful tool for social transformation, accessible to everyone.
Not just a privilege for those who can afford private fees.
Right, and when public schools struggle, when parents feel forced to leave,
Yeah.
it absolutely widens that gap between haves and have-nots.
Potentially locking generations into cycles of disadvantage.
Private schools, yeah, they fill a gap, but they aren't a comprehensive, equitable answer for 1.4 billion people.
Public education is the backbone. If we let it crumble.
We're not just failing kids today.
Yeah.
We're potentially jeopardizing the future of the whole nation.
And the real irony, as the source points out, government schools have so much going for them.
They're free, theoretically accessible everywhere.
And that incredible proven track record of producing brilliance we talked about. But without that fundamental layer of trust, none of that potential matters.
Parents won't enroll, won't keep their kids in a system they don't truly believe in, no matter how many schemes are announced.
Rebuilding trust means demonstrating day in and day out, in reality, that public schools can and will deliver high-quality education meeting modern needs and aspirations.
It's time to stop treating government schools like the underdog destined to lose. They aren't down for the count.
They just need that serious, sustained...
montage-worthy comeback. Focused on rebuilding trust. Invest in infrastructure like it's non-negotiable. Empower teachers. Modernize. Cultivate a vibe parents can believe in.
Private schools might have the shine, the marketing budget.
But public schools have the potential, the reach, to be the heart and soul again, lifting everyone up.
And that leaves us with perhaps the most critical question for you to ponder.
Hmm.
Given everything, the history, the struggles, the potential solutions, what would it truly take, practically and perceptually, for India's public schools to not just survive, but to genuinely become the heart and soul of its education system once more?
And if we don't prioritize fixing this crisis of trust in public education?
What kind of future are we actually building, and for whom, in a country as vast and diverse as India?